What's going on YouTube? West Hobbies RC. So today we are back with something a little different. We have a Shockwave 55 by ProBoat. So about 15 years or so ago, I used to be really big into boats, and as I was a kid I loved boats. Had a lake by my house and I would be over there all day with an old nitro and gallon of fuel, and I'd drive for hours and hours. So I decided to get back into boats again, thanks to Jeff Mayo, who talked to on Messenger, and we were talking about boats, and I decided I needed another boat. So let me do this one-handed here. Sorry. Picked up this used at my hobby shop. Great deal. But being a gas boat, it's been sitting a while. Carburetor is all gummed up. Primer bulb was busted. I replaced primer bulb. It's not sucking its own fuel. I cleaned the tank out already. Got new fuel in it. Still not sucking its own fuel. I'll put some fuel in the carb. It fired up. So that's what the point of this video is. We have a rebuild kit. Part number K20-WAT for the Walbro 644 carburetor, which it fits a bunch of the Walbro carburetors on DLE engines and so on. And this carburetor goes on a lot of different tanks. So I'm going to go ahead, pull the carburetor off, and we are going to also replace the fuel line. So I got some 4 foot of some new Tygon here. We're going to go ahead, because this fuel line does get hard as it is hard now. Hopefully that's the right size. It might be a little small. I'll look at it when I get it apart. But I'm going to get the camera set up on a tripod. I'm going to pull this carburetor. It is simple as just 2 screws, one there and one there. And we will start disassembling it and show you how to rebuild it. All right, so we got the carburetor pulled out, and we are ready to rebuild it. Now again, rebuild kit, part number K20-WAT. You can pick these up at online, or if you have a local small engine repair shop, which is where I picked this kit up. It was only $8. Comes with multiple different gaskets. Now, of course, you don't need all of this because this kit fits multiple different carburetors. So really, it's going to be quite simple for the rebuild. 2 simple tools: Phillips, flathead, good old Harbor Freight screwdriver set, got for free. Works great. So first thing we're going to do is pull the bottom. You have a Phillips screw on the bottom. This will be the same for all Walbro carburetors. Just have a couple paper towels here. We're going to set the screws aside, and then this bottom plate should pop off. Now you're going to have your little screen inside of here, which you can see is full of junk and crap. So we have a new screen in the kit, so we'll just pop the screen out, put a new screen in. You have a couple little passageways in here. Everything else looks pretty clean. Of course, I'll blow through here. If you have a set of tip cleaners, clean that out. And then now these little gaskets, you're going to have this mesh gasket first. And I'm just going to go ahead and replace all of these. So you have to watch which way they go. So you'll see that you have a little ear here and you have an ear here. So when you go to reassemble these gaskets, you want to make sure your ears line up, your holes line up here, and your little tabs, and then your flappers. So we're just going to go ahead and set that gasket off. And then this gasket, which is going to be very stiff and hard, and they will always tear when you take them off. So don't worry about that, because we are going to replace them. So we'll just have to go through and clean this surface up when we go to put the new gasket back on. But we have that part off, so let's set it aside. Our old torn gasket we will set aside. And now the screen, we will need a pick to get in there and pick that gasket out. But let's go ahead and take the top of the bowl off here. I already loosened 2 of these screws up to get the bracket off. Let me grab my screwdriver, because there's a throttle bracket that goes here on the Shockwave. Not sure if it's made or if that's factory. I did replace the primer bulb when I first got the boat, because the primer bulb was old and cracked off, and went through my grandfather's stash at his house, and he had a couple brand new bulbs from Weed Whackers, and they all fit. So grabbed one from him and replaced the bulb, and that's when I tried to run it, and it won't suck its own fuel. So of course you have your high speed and low speed needle, which we're not going to take those out. We're just really going to be replacing the pump gaskets, the bottom gaskets, cleaning the little screen out while replacing the screen, and seeing if there's any other dirt in the passageway. So let's go ahead and set the whole bulb assembly. If you do have to replace the primer bulb, it is simple. The primer bulb literally just pops right out, pops right in. Super simple. but we already did that. So now we're going to go ahead and pull fuel top hat off carefully. Okay, and this is going to be the diaphragm that usually goes bad. So this is the little pump. This is what sucks your fuel. It goes up and down. This is what your fuel line comes into, and you can see it's all distorted, and that is why most times your carburetor will stop sucking fuel and not run. It is a very cheap part to fix, but while you are rebuilding the carburetor, you might as well replace it all. So here is the gasket here. Again, remember which way it goes. It's very stiff, so we want the flat side with the silver facing down, and the little revolver looking barrel side facing out, which again on the carburetor is going to go this way. So we'll set all this aside now. So now I am going to take some brake clean, and I'm just going to brake clean all this stuff out real quick and then be back. Before I brake clean this out though, let's go ahead and pull the needle out. So we have one screw right here. Grab a bigger screwdriver here. Oh, sorry. I mean to knock into you guys. So you have one screw right here. This will allow the needle to come out. And then you're going to have a spring, which is right there. And you're going to have a pin. Don't lose this stuff, which it comes in the kit, but you need it. You can see here we have our spring, we have our little pin, and then our needle is right there. You can see there's your needle. So then this is what you have on the inside of the carburetor now. So now we're going to go ahead, take some brake clean, clean all this out real good, and we will be ready to change the screen out. Well, we're going to brake clean the screen and see if we can get some of that out, clean the gaskets up, and we are ready to reassemble. But 9 times out of 10, this gasket right here is what will cause your fuel pump carburetor to stop working. All right, so I just went ahead and blown everything out with some brake clean. So we got the carburetor all cleaned out now. We ended up just cleaning the screen out. We're not going to replace it. Screen came out good, nice and clean. Everything's clean with brake clean. So now we are ready for reassembly. So now I could just throw the needle and seat and everything back in the old one, but the kit came with a new one. So we are going to go ahead and put in a new needle. We're going to use the old spring. So the spring is going to go on this first little hole right here. Now this can be a very tricky thing to do. So we are going to grab our little arm here in our needle, and we're going to slide the needle into here. So I'm going to try to do this on camera so you can see and I can do it at the same time, because it is not easy. And I just lost the pin. But you're going to want to get this put into here, slide this down. You're going to want this to push on the spring, this little indent right here. You're going to want the spring to ride on, and then the needle drops down in there. So I'm going to do this off camera because I'm going to have to move this around and use something, but give me 1 second. All right, we got the needle and seat put in. So as you can see, we replaced it with the new one. Nothing wrong with the old one, but might as well just throw the new one in. So now we have that ready. Now let's go ahead and install the pump gasket and little diaphragm. So now it is 2 gaskets. When I pulled it apart, it looked like 1, but that's because they're stuck together. So you have a thicker gasket and the little pump gasket. So the thicker gasket goes on first like that. And then your pump gasket goes on the same way, flat side up. And then now we are ready for the top hat. So it is going to be fuel line towards the choke line of the carburetor. So that is going to sit down on there like so. And then we are ready. Make sure everything is stuck together good. Push it down so it seats down nicely. And then we are ready for our primer bulb. So now we can go ahead and put the primer bulb on. We're going to grab our screwdriver here. First, let's just start the screws. Get this all screwed back down. I'm going to have to take 2 of them back loose when I go to put the throttle choke back, or the throttle bracket back on, which is no big deal. And then let's just go ahead and tighten these down, making sure that everything stays straight. Square X tighten them. We don't want nothing to go cross-threaded and or crush sideways. We want to evenly crush down our gasket. And the top part of the carburetor is completely redone. we have some kind of Loctite in this thread. And this screw is longer because this is the side that, sorry you can't see what I'm doing, that the bracket goes on. Okay, so now everything is tightened down. Our primer bulb, you can hear. So now we know that part's sealed. All right. Oh, sorry. Keep knocking into you guys. I'll give you a concussion. So we have screen cleaned. Now we are ready to assemble the bottom of the carburetor. This is a very easy thing to do. So now we have our new gaskets here and here. So we are going to assemble this to where everything fits like it should. So it's going to be this side down first. If I remember correctly, let me just double check that real quick by looking back on the video. Okay, so I just wanted to double check and make sure that this is going back together right. So we're going to take our bottom hat and we're going to do gasket first. So if you look, of course, like I mentioned, you have a little nipple that'll fit down. You want to make sure that the curvature of the gasket fits the curvature of the plate. So that is going to go down like that, and then you have this hole lines up with the hole inside. And then we're going to take this little diaphragm and we're going to do the same thing. Put it to where it's like that. So you have your opening here, openings there, and the little tabs are out together. So now, my carburetor didn't have this little gasket, but the kit comes with this. This little gasket that goes on the bottom screw. Put it on there just in case so it does not leak. So now our throttle arm is on this side. Okay, and then we are going to want to put this to where your little screw is your idle screw. We're going to try to hold this together as we slip this down. So here, let's put the screw in first. Try to hold all this together because we want it to all fit together like it should. Let's get this gasket pushed down. There we go. Okay, be careful not to rip nothing. Let's go ahead and pull this up out of the way. We're going to want to line that up and that up. There we go. Perfect. So now let's take our screwdriver and let's just tighten this down, snug it up, and then we'll crank it down in a second. Okay. Now I'll take our big screwdriver here and let's give this a good turn. Tighten it down and we are good to go. So now our throttle is hooked up nice and freely. Our choke. Now our carburetor is completely rebuilt. So we have a freshly rebuilt carburetor, cleaned out, new gaskets, new diaphragms. It is ready to install back on the boat, and let's see if it starts. All right, so we went ahead, got the carburetor bolted back on. Again, just 2 screws, one there and there. We went ahead and replaced fuel lines. We have some new lines there. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up some large line. This is what I could get at the local small engine repair shop, but super easy to change later on. So now I need to figure out, probably just cut the little 90s off, make them shorter because these don't latch like they used to. And I want them to be nice and tight to hold the fuel tank in place, so we gotta do that. I also went ahead and pulled the water pump out. You can see it was bypassed here and here. So I have the water pump right here. So I'm gonna pull it apart. I don't know, maybe if the diaphragms went bad, why it was bypassed. But we're going to see if we get this water pump back up working again. Let's go ahead and see if this thing will run. Started right up. We didn't run it long. We just had a rigged up bottle for cooling, some water in it to one pickup on the rudder here. So we were only cooling of the head, not the exhaust side of the cooling, because this pickup here goes to the exhaust side and this pickup here goes to the head side. So we didn't run it long. I went ahead and got the water pump screwed back into place. This water pump, I took it apart. It is full of crap and junk. All the gaskets are super hard, so I either got to find a rebuild kit, which I've had no luck yet, or I'm just going to do some kind of like brushed motor water pump, or I'm not going to do any water pump. I don't know. So we'll figure that out later. But for now, it is ready to go. All I have left to do is just tighten these little guys up here, which is no big deal. I still have to get a receiver for it, and battery and new switch and get it ready to run in the water, but the actual rebuild of the carburetor is done. It's running, it's ready to go. So I'm going to end this video off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. Have a great day.